Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program, version 1.8.1, in my next small step RP-1 career mode playthrough. And we are back to it. I have just finally been able to time warp forward a couple of weeks now that all of our astronauts are home safe, training is happening, building is happening, everything is moving on, and I wanted to warp forward to two things that happened roughly simultaneously. First, we finished our technology upgrade of advanced communication. So that means that we can now upgrade our tracking station one more time up to level 6, which is going to be very exciting. And that'll be done in just a little bit more than a week. That's pretty damn cool. And also, in that time, our Martian Moonhopper probe has finished a lot of its science. So we just got a ton of science back from that. So we're still looking at about 63 days for the other two things, but this is the first month that's gone by. So I have the, oh, this is the probe. I'm looking for the lander. Probably this. Yeah, there we go. So 11 more hours and we're going to be finished up with the magnetic scan, but everything else is just about done. So just about finished with all the science we can get from that particular biome. And then I have to decide whether or not I want to biome hop or if I want to just get on with it. But in the meantime, I can just ramp up my science production, which is what I'm going to do. Everything into R&D. Because I want to get that science moving a little bit faster, because that's what's killing me lately is how long it's taking to get new science nodes. I've had the same engines for approximately 1 million years, so. But the reason why I wanted to move our tracking station upgrade first is it's time to send a probe to the outer planets. Yes, indeed. So this is our Pioneer Jupiter spacecraft. This is a Titan III BAS-2 model, I think, is what this most closely corresponds to. But it's basically just a slightly uprated Titan II or Titan III with a couple of little strap-on boosters. And the thing that makes it what it is that it has a 2 RL-10 Centaur sitting up on top. And now that we have that, the tracking station upgrade, the communications tech has been upgraded. Now I can go in and I can move this nowhere. It's still level 4 because I need to actually go do another thing. Hold on. And back to the vessel itself. I forgot this is one of those nodes that you actually have to buy the free things for it to actually work. So that is going to get us tech level 5 communications. It's still S-band because we don't get X-band until level 7, I think. So we're using S-band for a while longer at least. But this is going to get us better communication because I want to send this thing to Jupiter. I want to head out into the outer planets. And I think that I can do that if I have a, if I'm very careful with my launch here. Oh man, the idle power goes down and the active power goes down. Oh, this is super exciting. Yes. Okay. I am all the way stoked about that. So what I want to do now is I want to take a look at the planning GUI because I want to go to Jupiter, and I have a transfer window that is coming up that someone from the comments mentioned that I could probably still hit if I, pushed hard enough. And thank you for that, because you are absolutely correct. I could bang this thing out and get this thing on the way pretty quickly. I can't quite make this into a perfect analog because I'm missing a lot of components, but this is pretty darn close to the Pioneer 10 spacecraft that actually went out and flew by Jupiter. It even looks a little bit like that. Not quite, because obviously I'm doing things a little bit differently and I don't actually need my RTGs out on big booms, so I just put them on little ones here just for flavor and all that. So it's got a little bit of the flavor of the actual Pioneer 10, but anyways, the point I was trying to make is I don't want to oversell it, but when I was doing my testing for the picking out the trajectory for this to make sure I have the transfer window correct, I was able to hit a bunch of outer planets in one go. I'm not sure how that's going to work because I'll show you when I get there, but let's just say that it's going to be like 16 years to get to Neptune if on the trajectory that I was looking at, and this was, like I said, just napkin math, but That's I'm not sure I'm going to be playing in game for 16 more years. So that may be something that I'd like finish up my campaign and then like time warp out to when that thing gets there. But anyways, I think it will be really, really cool to hit those maneuvers anyways. And this is pretty darn... it's occurring to me now that this thing could probably use just like a little tiny little fuel tank and a little tiny little engine and maybe some RCS on it, just so that I can maneuver a little bit as I'm flying around, because I do have a inline reaction wheel, but I don't know how much control that's going to give us, and we may want to adjust our trajectory on the fly. So yeah, not much to go through the design phase on this one, but this thing is just a satellite bus packed full of experiments, with the experiments that I couldn't fit inside strapped to the outside, and it's got two Snap 9 RTGs, which I sincerely wish I'd focused more on getting the Snap 19s, because the actual Pioneer 10 has 4 Snap 19s, not 2 Snap 9s, so it has a lot more power available to it. But I think this should be fine for the purposes that we are sending it, because you can see that we have, with the avionics off, we have double the power that we need. So it's going to use a bunch of power when we have the science experiments on, and then that's so yeah, it should be fine for what we have here. And this is going to allow us to throw this thing out early, as opposed to waiting for better technology and so forth. But I was thinking maybe just a teeny tiny little something here. Maybe if I just put one little toroid integral tank and just kind of clip that into the bottom there, just for aesthetic's sake. A little engine. Sticking out bottom a little bit. And then some teeny tiny RCS is all we really need. Okay, so I'm actually going to attach it to the side of the... I'm going to attach it here, but then I'm going to move it down because I just wanted it to be flat and not curved weirdly. So we're just going to tuck that in there. Push that down a little bit. There we go. So it's actually... yeah, that looks good. And that'll give us full control. And doesn't raises our weight a little bit, but not like a lot, and it doesn't even require me to increase our control mass any higher than it already was. Well, that's because I haven't put any fuel in it yet. Kerosene. Okay, so yeah, we're going to need to go up by just a little bit, and that gives us just a little bit of delta V, because I don't think we're going to need a lot to do what we're doing here. So I'm actually going to shrink this a bit there, and that's even tooled because I've used this something similar to this size before. Yeah, because I don't want like a ton of delta V here. I just want to be able to just slightly adjust my trajectory in between the multiple flybys that I'm planning to make. So yeah, there we go. That seems good. That's hopefully that will do, and that's just a little bit heavier, so I do need to increase this to 0.6. This is going to require me to tool it, which is fine. So yeah, there we go. That is going to be our the spacecraft that I'm going to be flinging out towards Jupiter. And I had it in my head that I wanted to wait for my new technology nodes for new science experiments, but you know, this window is happening right now, so let's just get to that. The logo on there, yeah, big NASA logo looks nice. Check our staging. All right, so that should do it. Let me just double check my math. Okay, so based on my test, this should almost exactly be enough for what we're going to do. And then the little bit of extra delta V up on top should get us a little bit extra. So yeah, that is how we are going to make this happen, I think. fix my staging, which I manage to mess up all the time. And yeah, there we go. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. One thing I want to check now is what our communications is going to look like, because I have dreams of going past Jupiter, but that's probably going to require me to really crank up this transmit power. Let's just save this, and then we'll see what that looks like. So the way we do that is we open up the antenna GUI, where we have ground station tech level 6 now, I think. And we have, this is tech level 5, because those are different things. Pretty sure we have 6 now. So what we do is we want to go check Jupiter first of all, is just see what that's going to look like. And what we have right now, I had 35 dBm planned on this, and that gets us a pretty good transmit and receive at Jupiter. So that looks good based on ground station tech level 6. So fantastic, that's good. But what about when we get to Saturn? Looks like we'll still have connection, but it's going to be pretty spotty by the time we get there. That's going to be pretty slow return of data. And so I'm going to guess that by the time I get out to Neptune, we're going to have nothing. Absolutely nothing. But we will be receiving, which means we're not far off from being able to connect. So yeah, if I crank it all the way up to 43, which is going to be just an absolutely monstrous amount of power, 112 watts to broadcast at that power level to communicate back from Neptune. Makes me wonder if that is going to be worth it. So let me just, I've gotten all my staging correct. Let's ruin everything because I just want to pop this off and I want to see what kind of impact that would have. So if I was communicating, that would be, yeah, I could communicate at full strength for 9 days before I had to turn it off and recharge. So I think that's fine going even this powerful at 43. If I went to 45, then we would have 70 bits per second up and down, which is nice. But that's an extra 50 watts on top of this. So I think bare minimum for Neptune is all I'm going to plan for. This might even be eclipsed by another probe that I send later, but we'll see how things go. So yeah, I definitely want to do this, and I think we want to prioritize this so that we can hit this launch window, which is a little bit further out, luckily, than I thought it was. Looks good. There we go. Yeah, so it's a little bit further out than I thought it was. I just test launched this just to check the numbers to make sure that I wasn't like miles away from being able to actually do what I'm trying to do. But yeah, this all looks like it is in the realm of possibility, which I did not realize I was kind of there. You know what I mean? I thought everything was a little bit further out. I love that the latest update to RP-1 makes all these extra parts experimental, but one thing that I'm finding is that it becomes a little bit hard to tell when things are coming, like because I had a tendency to unlock just like a whole bunch of the tree and then I cancel, and then I unlock a whole bunch of the tree and then I cancel. The game remembers everything as experimental even if you've unlocked the node, so I end up in this place where I have no idea when things are coming. So I didn't know when I was going to be able to get this 2-meter parabolic antenna, which I should have right now. I wasn't sure when that was going to be available and what that was going to look like as far as those communications. It would be very nice to send a 4-meter dish, because that would make this just a lot easier. Just the extra power would be pretty darn significant. But yeah, I think we can still make this happen with this, and at the very least hit Jupiter and Saturn. And that would be, even if I just get those two, that would be an amazing result. So let's go ahead and put this in a launch queue. And what I'm going to do now is I would love to crank this up so that we have this done first, so that it is ready to go for the launch window in 49 days. 49 days. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I think it's like 73 is when the actual window is now. It just occurred to me that I set up a new transfer window in the, what do you call it? In the simulation, which doesn't help me at all here. Yeah, let's just say 73 days, and then we will that's when I'll plan to launch. Jupiter transfer window, 73 days, boom. Okay, so there we go. That is when we will do that, and hopefully this will work out. But the nice thing is that means we don't even have to stress about the, what do you call it? About the, about rush building or anything like that. So, very, very cool. All right, and that gets the tracking station upgraded, and yes, indeed, it is level 6, so that is what we can plan against. And I see a whole bunch more Deimos science coming in, which is just lovely. Which means it's time to go visit the Martian Moonhopper. All right, so we are back at the Martian Moonhopper. We have connection, and it looks like all of our science on the ground here is completed. Just lovely, fantastic. I'm super, super stoked about how well this has worked out so far. Now we just need to figure out if we want to travel around and get more science over time. So I guess the question on that is how well we're doing on power, and it looks like, I mean, it looks like there's no real issue with maintaining power on this vessel. So yeah, I could pretty easily just jump around and get a ton of science. And I feel like I should, honestly. Like, it seems like a waste to leave this trove of science, because we got 600 credits worth of science here, which is almost 32 KCT points that we got just so far, and there's a bunch more biomes that I could get. So yeah, we could move on to the contract, and that's something that I should do pretty soon. But I feel like so long as our batteries are holding, and I think the real limiting factor is going to be our satellite bus, our probe here, because that is going to determine, like, that's solar powered, and we need to make sure that we're not killing those batteries. So let's actually go check on that real quick. All right, so it's whipping around to point at the sun, and we have 100% exposure, and we can see that our wear is up to 28%. And if I turn off our avionics, we're already at a point where it looks like I'm transmitting right now. That's actually why this is so hefty. So let's actually see. Yeah, I've got data coming up somehow. Like, I can't imagine why this is. Oh, because it's just going so slowly. I'm still slowly sending back data. So if I were to just turn off data transmission for a moment, it looks like we would still be okay for a little while longer. But before we get moving too long, yeah, I think the safest thing would be to move on to Phobos and then do some bouncing around on Phobos, because I should be able to do that because we have tons of extra Delta V, and this can refuel. I'm pretty sure this can transfer fuel, but it should be able to refuel the lander as it bounces around a couple times. So yeah, let's go ahead and move to Phobos, which will be a slightly harder, but also maybe easier at the same time, just because it's a little more dense and has a little more gravity, little moonlet to move around on. So let's do that, just so that I don't run out the clock and end up spending too much time and then end up killing this probe and then being really sad about it. All right, so our orbiter has just passed overhead, so I think it's time for us to head up there. This is a weird sort of thing where I'm not sure that we need to stress too much about how we do this. Where are they going? I think they're going like this way. I think this is the direction of their orbit. So it's time for us to just kind of jump up and push off after. We do have to be careful of this spike, and I think I mentioned a little bit before, but one of the mod developers for RP-1 did let me know that I was mostly correct when I talked about this last time, but this spire is something that every planet has some level of, and it's an artifact of mapping a rectangular height map onto a spherical planet. It's just not great in RSS compared to in stock because the planets are much bigger or they're much smaller than in KSP, so it doesn't quite map as cleanly. And a lot of the planets just use the raw data that they got from NASA. They haven't processed it to flatten out the poles, which is why a lot of the poles on planets in stock KSP game are very flat. So that helps to avoid these big spikes, but this is something that it just kind of happens all the time, even in stock KSP. So that's what this is, and apparently if I touched it, it is Kraken bait, or so I'm told. So yeah, let's not touch this as we get out of here and link back up with our orbiter, which hopefully that goes just fine. Yeah, so that's what causes that, and that's just why we need to avoid the spike while we are heading up. And yeah, I think this is going to be the weirdest docking I've ever done. We'll see. Yeah, so I guess there's no reason to delay any further. We'll just take straight off. And yeah, we've just put on like 20 meters per second of, oh my gosh, that's way too much actually. Hold on. Are my... Oh, it helps to activate my avionics, I suppose. Yeah, I should maybe have like thought this through a little bit better than I just did, but yeah, we should be moving towards our target at high velocity now. I'm not sure that there's any reason to do anything except for just go straight towards the other vessel. Yeah, but that was a little bit wasteful of fuel, but you know, whatever, is what it is, I guess. So yeah, we are moving our way there, and I'm just gonna looping around the poles, which is really actually pretty cool. Look at that weird spike. That's so bizarre. But yeah, now we know what it is, why it's there, why it's like that, but waiting for the camera to stop rotating us around. And there we have the sun rising over the crags of Deimos, if you could call them crags. But yeah, just jumping straight up towards our lander. Like I said, not really the way that you would normally do something like this, but it seems to be working so far. We are approaching, and we are at like super duper escape velocity relative to Deimos, so we do need to be a little bit careful about that. But we are coming up to within a couple hundred meters of the vessel. So let's just point target negative and push our retrograde marker on top of that. There we go, slowing us down to a much more reasonable speed. And there we go. Now I'm just going to cut our velocity, and we are going to point parallel plus. I figure out where I think parallel plus is what I'm looking for. Maybe it's exactly the opposite of what I'm looking for. Looks like more the opposite than it is. Port propellant only. Parallel minus, perhaps? Yep, that's the one. Ugh, parallel minus. So good. Okay, so yeah, now it's just a matter of getting there. So I'm just using the RCS controls at this point because this is a very nice and nimble spacecraft. Change. Slowing us down now that we are past it. Oh, nope, it's still in that direction. Just halting our relative vertical velocities. And there we go. We're just traveling right over. Slow down, though. We're going pretty quick. Look at this. Oh, this is so cool. Oh my god, the parallel minus, like, if I swear, I have done this manually so many times, and I had no idea that that was a thing. Oh man, hold on. That's cool as heck. And there we go. We are docked up. Everything is wonderful. I am so excited. We can now we got to do a bunch of weird stuff to pack this spacecraft up for departure. So we're going to turn off the RCS on our lander. Let's let that get all boxed up. This is something that should be a control group, to be honest. And we're going to turn off this engine. There we go. And we are going to control from this avionics, which is activate this one, shut down this one. Control from here. There we go. We are packaged up and we are ready to move on towards Phobos. Think. The rotation. Yes, there we go. Everything is wonderful. I am so excited that that worked out as easily as it did, because docking spacecraft and doing things like this is like, it's the way forward. It's a lot easier to create smaller things that are capable like this and that then dock up and move around together, rather than making one big thing that does everything. You know what I mean? That's why I'm working on a Gemini lunar orbital rendezvous around the moon for my landing mission, as opposed to doing the big Saturn V, which, by the way, somebody mentioned that it would be a good idea to do this, do the lunar orbit rendezvous with Gemini for my first landing, and I do want to do that. But then there's no reason why I can't transition eventually to Apollo architecture and then build, maybe not a moon base, but maybe some kind of outpost on the moon in our preparations for Mars. I think would be a great idea. So I'm going to keep moving technology forward. I'm not just going to, stick a flag in the moon and call it done. But yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't eventually do both things. All right, so let's see what this is going to look like to get down to Phobos. Our orbit is incredibly wrong for what we are trying to do, but our orbit is 3.4 meters per second, so it super does not matter. All right, so is it this way? Yes, so I think what we want to do is we want to be going in that direction. That's retrograde. Let's see. Yeah, MechJeb has no idea what to do with this particular problem, and I'm wondering if I don't just jet out of the sphere of influence of Deimos, because I don't think it's helping me. And it's definitely not helping my ability to figure out what direction I should be pointing. Okay, this looks about right. So the features of this orbit are that our, what do you call it? Our para-Aryan and our ascending node are touching the orbit of Phobos. So eventually I will get an encounter, probably. So that is what I think I'm going to do for now. That node is not long from now, so let's go ahead, open the maneuver planner, go ahead and execute this node, and I'm also going to focus us to make sure that this isn't going to kill us in some way. Nope, we are just flying straight off in an arbitrary seeming direction. And yeah, that should get us there, because the maneuver planner was giving me optimized transfers that would, minimize the amount of delta V, but get us there in one burn. But I'm not actually interested in making a nice, efficient transfer. What I'm interested in is just getting there eventually, because I think that I could do this, I can make this burn now and then just get there when I get there, and I think that that's fine. So yeah, you can see we are increasing our orbit to orders of magnitude higher than the escape velocity of Deimos. There we go, burning up with our efficient little generic thrusters that are bringing us up. And while we're doing that, I think... Boop, 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 boop. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. Then the big tank here. Yeah, we can just say out to each of those. And it's not allowing me to do that. But if I enable crossfeed, how is it using the fuel if there's not crossfeed enabled? Something's a little wonky. Crossfeed? Okay, maybe I don't transfer fuel until I actually finish this burn. One thing at a time. Goodness gracious. Okay, so there we go. We have made our escape from Deimos. So let's just go ahead and time warp to that and say farewell to this tiny little potato. There it goes. I had a great time. This is something that no space agency has done yet. We have not put anything successfully landing on Deimos, and definitely not Deimos and Phobos in the same mission. But yeah, this is just such a cool thing. Like, I'm really enjoying this. We are getting a tremendous amount of science out of this, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get down to Phobos, and then I can do all of my biome hopping down there, and that will get us lots and lots of science going forward that will be able to keep making big unlocks. Make big unlocks out of that, which is very, very helpful, because I'm hoping, whoa, big flip around there. I'm hoping to get a new build line also by doing the, what is happening? I think I'm like falling in and out of the sphere of influence. Oh, I hate it. What is happening? I hate it. Further away, please. Okay, that was really uncomfortable. But I think we're okay now. So let's see. We are heading in this direction. And if we just look, say +1 orbit. Oh, look at that. In just one more orbit, we are actually going to be really, really close. Perfect. That's fantastic. So let's move this to here at that next orbit. And then that will, -1, there we go, this orbit. And now we can just adjust. Adding a little bit of normal and just doing a little bit of manual tweaking on this. There we go. We have our encounter. That's nice. That's awesome. That's actually not going to take very long at all. I definitely thought this was going to be something that I had to orbit around a lot longer to get to. But yeah, look at that. There we go. That is inside the sphere of influence of Phobos, which is another tiny potato, and even more potatoey. Delicious. All right, so let's down. Go. A little bit of this, and oops, too much. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and there we go. That should get us into a place where we can then capture. So yeah, I am going to put this into a timer. And then this here at the Phobos or whatever. Good. At the Phobos, let's slow it on down. Oh, there it goes. Boom. Nice. Nice. I love it. But a little bit closer to the actual Deimos. Dear, oh dear. A little bit wonky, but that is the plan, and that is going to leave us with a ton of Delta V to play with. So I am absolutely stoked about that. That is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get a lot more science and do a lot more cool stuff and finish up some contracts, get some money, and get things moving towards our first manned landing on the moon. Because remember, the plan is always to come next to the red planet and see what we can do here and see if we can't put footprints here as well. All right, so this is actually a pretty darn easy trajectory, and this is going to go pretty quick. So we really only have to orbit once in this particular orbit that we have, where we have lowered our para-Aryan down into Phobos's orbit. And then once we get there, we will make a small adjustment to our trajectory to make sure that we actually intercept with Phobos, and then we will figure out how to get into that orbit from there. It looks like it's a pretty easy burn that is going to bring us in. Just 400 meters per second, and that is going to leave us with just a ton of Delta V to play with and hop around the surface and get as much science as we possibly can, which I am excited about. So let's just get right to it, shall we? What we have to do now is we need to, before we can, oops, didn't I turn these off? I swear I thought I turned these off. Hold on a second. Let's make sure these are all off. I swear I did this. But yeah, we need to make sure that these are all off and the engine is off as well. Okay, that seems to be good. Because we need to make sure that we have sun to charge up our batteries in between, because we don't actually have the power to, what do you call it? We don't have the power to transmit and do science and not be pointed at the sun while we're flying down. So another thing, while I'm thinking about it, is I can actually transfer all of the data into the into our orbiter. And then I can just transfer that home from there without worrying about having to relay it up to the up from the lander, which is nice. So that's actually a really handy thing. So we can just put that in there, and that includes a surface sample, which has now been placed inside this. And I don't know, maybe we'll be able to get these surface samples home someday. But yeah, whatever. That'd be kind of man, that would be a really cool mission. Actually, setting out an astronaut to try to collect these. Holy crap, that would be amazing. Maybe don't hold your breath on that one. But man, that's the opportunity there is really neat. So yeah, anyways, we are pointed in the right direction to get sun and transfer science back. And when we go into time warp, we do have perpetual power, which is good. We are gaining power because the thing that I didn't really calculate is this vessel has the electricity capability to do science and transmit science simultaneously with both sets of avionics on idle mode and not active. But it doesn't have that power if I remove this RTG. And that is something that I didn't quite calculate. I didn't quite calculate how well this thing performed with only the solar panels and with the 30% wear on it. So that makes that a little bit tough. Or not even a little bit tough, but it makes it so that it's not just a super easy thing that I can do without having to worry about. I do need to be careful with the power. All right, and we are rotating around just a couple more hours until we get to the top of our orbit once again, having swung around the Martian, the Mars, having swung around Mars. And yeah, the only other thing we have to wait for is our Jupiter transfer window is the next thing that's going to be done. So we're finally getting to a point where we can actually like time warp through, get some science done, get some big rockets built and that sort of thing. But yeah, now we are 1 minute away. So let's go ahead and pop open our maneuver planner and execute next node. And we are warping up and bringing ourselves down to the point where we can make this burn that will bring us down into the into a collision, well, hopefully not a collision course, but bring us down close to Phobos. So yeah, I think this is going to end up looking and feeling very similar to how it worked when we did this just previously. But first, let's go ahead and point us back at the sun, and then we can make our trajectory adjustments from there. Let's focus target, and let's just see what this intercept is going to look like. It's going to look a little weird, is what it's going to look like. Okay, I feel like I could probably... I don't know what button I just pressed to open this, but I guess B. But that shows me the surface information on Phobos. That's fascinating. I didn't know that was a thing. Radiation on the surface, inner belt radiation, outer belt magnetopause, which I guess would matter on a planet that had those things. Anyways, yeah, I could try to get this closer, but I really don't think it actually matters. This is just the teeniest and tiniest of potatoes. I think, if I remember properly, it's a little tiny bit bigger than Deimos. Yeah, so it's 14 meters per second escape velocity. Oof, man, 14 meters per second. That is blistering fast. So yeah, we will be heading down to that. And we are pointed now at the sun, so let's just go ahead and, boop, there we go. All right, so we have just 5 hours of rotating around Mars and getting us down to the point where we can orbit this little potato, which is... Oh, there it is. There it is. Look at that. Okay, that's really cool. I wish I could like take a screenshot without my cursor on that, but I want to be able to see, like, show that that's actually Phobos that we're coming up on. That is cool. Yeah, so an interesting thing, just as with Deimos, we have not had any actual exploration done of, that's just so cool, and I just don't think it's going to translate into a screenshot, but man, that is just really neat. There has not been much actual exploration done of Phobos or Deimos. There has been, like, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has been able to take some pictures, and we have some data from that, really. But we don't have, like, there has not been a whole lot of dedicated, focused exploration of either of them. There are plans to do so. The MMX, which is being developed by JAXA, the Japanese aerospace company, is a Mars Moons exploration mission that is basically intended to do what I did here +1. So it's not only going to go to each of the moons, Phobos and Deimos, but it's going to return a sample back to Earth. Holy crap, that's so cool. So that is just super exciting, and I can't wait to see that. And that's, right now, they say that it's mid-2020s is, I think, is I think that's about as good as you can expect as far as forecasting is concerned. But yeah, so there just has not been a whole lot of exploration of them, and it's something that we better get on, you know, sometime in the next 50 million years or so, because based on the information we know about Phobos' orbit, it is actually spiraling in towards Mars at the rate of 1.8 centimeters per year, which means it's eventually going to crash into the planet. Or it's going to be, you know, torn apart into rubble and turn into a ring. How cool would it be if Mars had a ring? Unfortunately, it's going to be, you know, millions and millions of years before that happens, unless we, you know, get up there and put thrusters on Phobos to make that process happen a little bit faster. All right, so we are just about there. We are going to be entering into this in just a moment. And yeah, we're going to have to... Ooh, this is going to be a little bit dicey, actually. So let's retrograde. Shoot. I didn't think about this part of it. It should be okay. We should be fine. I'm just a little bit concerned about not having control, and if I need to actually start this burn before we get into the what do you call it? Before we get in there, into the sphere of influence. That. All right, another couple seconds. Go, 3, 2, 1. And we are in the sphere of influence. Let's create and execute this node. There we go. I just want to make sure that this is done correctly with actual control. And there we go. That is Phobos. So yeah, that's that decaying orbit is kind of a fun and interesting thing. It apparently resembles a rubble pile more than it resembles an actual moon. Apparently, it's got like a meter thick coating of dusty powder, so it might end up being a little bit like the asteroid Bennu that OSIRIS-REx just recently got to as of the time of this recording in early the 1st of November 2020. Bennu, we just reached there with the OSIRIS-REx satellite, and it tried to take a sample, and it just blew this massive plume of dust and debris because the entire surface of that asteroid was kind of just like a very loosely held together conglomeration of rocks and dust and sand, all different sizes and composition. So this may be like that, but I can't imagine it's going to be modeled like that in KSP. They don't exactly have discrete sand physics. We might like sink through the collider a little bit, but that's as much as we could expect. But there we go. We are now in orbit around Phobos. Fantastic. I think we are going to tighten this up a little bit, although it doesn't really matter because just we're so far away. Or we're going so slowly. Like our orbit is 4 meters per second right now, so it's really not that big of a deal. But there's also no reason not to bring this in a little bit tighter. Okay, maybe there is a reason. Okay, that's a little better. But yeah, now I want to wait until we actually have signal. Oh, that is a slow orbit. So we have signal and also, there we go. All right, so there we go. We are getting good signal, and we are getting actually transferring science also. So let's point our orbiter towards the sun. And I think it's time to just go ahead and drop it down. Like I could like tighten up this orbit, but I just don't see that it matters super much. Man, that's so freaking cool. Oh, I love this. I love how much closer Mars is to Phobos than Deimos. It just makes for such much cooler shots. Yeah, just orbits so close to the planet, so you can see that that's, you know, it's eventually going to fall right in because it's so small, just being pulled slowly in, and I think it's a part of its original trajectory is why that it's like that, just the way that it was. I'm not sure why its orbit is so unstable. So yeah, not something I know a tremendous amount about. So yeah, if you know more about that, I'd be happy to talk more about it. But that's as much as I have found out in my brief look. And look at how cool this is. All right, I am super excited, and I want to get in that crater. That is my goal in life, is to bring this craft down into that crater to begin our journey of science. So step 1, we are going to fill up the tanks on our lander. So let's just bring these up. Doesn't really matter where those are because what we need is this one. And we are just going to push out. And that is just slowly going to fill up these 4 tanks. Because yes, we do have, these are indeed the Apollo docking collars. So that does allow for fuel transfer. I think these also allow crew transfer if these are actually the Apollo ones, but this might be the Gemini because this is a teeny tiny spacecraft. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to click on it now because I'd ruin everything. Okay, tanks on the landercraft are full. We still have 1,000 meters per second, and this thing just uses a teeny tiny amount of delta V to do its maneuvers. So that is just fantastic. And once we are pointed at the moon, unfortunately it uses, I think Aerozine by its own natural properties uses or Aerosine engines use fuel from across the entire vessel because it counts as a monoprop, like RCS fuel, instead of an engine fuel. So it's not really respecting. Well, this has crossfeed on, but even when I had crossfeed off, it was using from everywhere. But anyways, we are pointed at the sun. We are doing our science in orbit, transferring everything up. Let's make sure everything is transferred in here so that I'm storing the data inside this vessel. And now we are going to undock. Now we just need to turn on our RCS. And push away from the mothership. Activate our engine with a massive burn back down to the surface that we need to make here. And now we can just point ourselves at this crater, and I think we're just going to burn directly towards this crater. I don't really see any reason to be weird about it. And we are pushing down, directly down to the surface. Yeah, look at that. It's just as easy as it is. All right, and I can just use my RCS to adjust our trajectory so that we will be coming down right about there. Seems good. Flip us around to surface velocity negative. And there we go. Just 15 minutes and we are going to be landed. Oh wow, we are in space high. That is fascinating. Space low. Is there a space low on Phobos? Space just above. Wow, okay. We actually need to bring this down a little bit to get the space low. But that is something that we can do later on. Oh, we are actually coming down in a different place than I would like to. So let's just push in this direction and that should bring us into a different place. Yep, look at that. Look at how easy that is. Yeah, I could absolutely have... yeah, it doesn't look like this crater is any particular biome, but... There we go. Something was not working there. I think I might have been... Oh, it might have been I was time warping still. Yeah, I'm not sure that the this crater is any particular biome, but it sure does look cool, right? I just hope that I don't end up... How far am I? 400 meters? Okay, are we still going to be okay? I just want to make sure that we don't lose connection right at the last second, because that would not be great. We are 200 meters up. You're just going to point us up, and I'm going to use RCS to cancel our lateral velocity. Because, like I have said when I was at Deimos, I definitely did not need the actual lander engine. Patient, please. I don't actually need to be spinning. Well, I do want to withdraw this and slow us down. Oh, did I just bounce off the surface? I think I did. So we have touchdown and lift off again. That's what I get for fussing around. Okay, so now we are coming down and we are going, and it is actually not bad. This is actually a pretty good, what do you call it, velocity at the end here, and a good amount of gravity. Like, it's not nearly as fiddly as it was on Deimos. off. Gently touch down. We are touched down on Phobos' lowlands. We are in a crater, so we can't actually see anything super neat from here. That seems like an oversight on my part. So much so that I decided that I wanted to, in fact, just take a little jump up here to this ridge so that we can see something. Ooh, we are above the grooves. Holy crap, that sounds amazing. Oh man, look how cool that is. Oh, I'm really glad that I made this jump. We are above the grooves of Phobos, which I did not know were a thing. And now we can actually see Mars from here, which is just fantastic, but we are about to lose signal probably. So hopefully we'll be okay, but I guess we're about to find out. Let's just make sure we're pointed up. Once again, cancel out our lateral velocity with RCS. Perfect. Thank goodness that there is a good amount of fuzziness to the occlusion math for this. Oh my gosh, I'm about to land on a incredibly steep slope, so let's go this way. There we go. That looks better. There we go. Oh, this is much better. Look at that. Look at that. Yes. Push us down into the surface. Stop bouncing. And there we go. We are landed now. Sort of. We are bouncing a little bit. Okay. All the dancing and fiddling aside, we are here and landed on the grooves of Phobos, which is just so incredibly cool. So let's go ahead and get all of our science running. We can get this moving now. Close that down. Close, well, not that yet. But yeah, there we go. We can see Mars just peeking over the horizon. Very, very cool. That's fantastic. So yeah, there we go. We are here on Phobos, and the surface is not nearly as inhospitable as we may have been led to believe. We have a lot of science yet to do. We can start sending stuff back even as we speak. Look at this, hundreds of science coming as we watch Mars set down below the horizon on the grooves here. And we will be doing some biome hopping over time, where I will visit every 30 days to adjust our position and find ourselves a new place to do science. But now as Mars fades out of view, and so does our orbital spacecraft, I think that is going to do it for us today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know what you think down in the comments below. This one was a lot of fun, but we are moving on towards our crewed spaceflight. Just inexorably, we are moving forward. And so, yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you next time.